If you were alone in the woods and something knocked on your car window at 2 a.m., would you open it? That's exactly what happened to Caleb. And 6 years later, he still lies awake wondering, what if I hadn't driven away? This isn't a made-up campfire story. It happened in 2018. Deep in the forest outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, a recent high school grad, a solo road trip, a self-built Tahoe camper, and a knock at the window from something not human. I'm the founder of Real Encounters, and I've interviewed over 300 eyewitnesses to unexplained events across the country. But Caleb's case? It's one of the few that gave me chills even during the third playback. In this video, you'll learn exactly what knocked on Caleb's window that night, why his GPS glitched for 20 straight minutes, and here, for the first time ever, the audio recording of heavy breathing just outside his car. Caleb was 19. He pulled off into a wooded clearing to sleep, but at 2:17 a.m., something nearly 7 feet tall with glowing yellow eyes was standing next to his window, and it wasn't planning to leave. If you skip this video, you'll never know the full truth about what's lurking in those Tennessee woods, or why Caleb has never ever gone back. I've never told anyone this. Not my parents, not my friends, not even the guys I camp with every summer. But it happened, and I need someone to know. Someone to believe that whatever that thing was, it wasn't human. My name's Caleb. I'm from central Kentucky, not far from Danville. And in the summer of 2018, when I should have been chasing sunsets and campfires, I came face to face with something that should not exist, something that still watches me in my sleep. Back then, I was fresh out of high school, obsessed with those YouTube guys turning old trucks into off-road homes. So I built my own adventure rig, a black Chevy Tahoe with a bed in the back, drawers for gear, solar charger, blackout curtains. The whole dream. I had a plan. Head south, explore alone, fish the Gulf, sleep under stars with the safety of a locked car around me. My dad helped me build it. My mom begged me not to go. She said, people vanish out there. In cars, in the woods. Just gone. I laughed it off. Thought it was just a mom being a mom. But what I found in southern Tennessee, just outside Chattanooga, made me wish I'd listened. Because there are things in those forests that don't blink. Don't breathe right. Things that know how to open a door. And I swear on everything, if I hadn't driven away that night, I wouldn't be here telling you this. After high school, I wasn't looking for college or a job in an office. I wanted something else, something real. I'd always had this craving for the wild, for solitude, for places where the silence felt ancient. You know, the kind of quiet that almost hums, like the trees are holding their breath. So when I finished school that summer, I set my heart on turning my black Chevy Tahoe into a mobile base camp, inspired by those YouTube nomads who carved life out of metal, gas, and back road freedom. My dad was all in, proud to help me rip out the back seats, install a raised bed platform, build out drawers for my gear and cooking supplies, hook up a solar charger to keep my phone and MacBook juiced. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. A fortress on wheels. I wouldn't need to pitch a tent or stake out anything. I could lock the doors and sleep without worrying about coyotes or creeps. That part gave me peace. My mom? Not so much. She wasn't thrilled. People disappear, she said one night, half whispering, like it was already a ghost story. They go camping in cars and just vanish. She always had this way of saying things like they were warnings disguised as bedtime tales. But I smiled, nodded, promised to text every day, and then ignored every bit of her fear. The plan was simple. I packed the coolers, charged the batteries, double-checked the drawer locks. When I pulled out of the driveway that morning, I felt like a king. The road was open, the skies were clear, and that first day's goal was to reach Chattanooga and find a remote place to crash for the night. I didn't want campgrounds or parking lots. I wanted forgotten roads, the kind you have to back into because GPS won't even acknowledge they exist. It was late afternoon when I rolled into the outskirts of Chattanooga. I wasn't impressed with the town, but the edges were wild. The Smokies were draped in mist and the air had that thick green smell. like moss and pine and something older lurking underneath. I spent a few hours driving through winding roads, stopping at trailheads, pulling over to admire ridgelines that looked like the backs of sleeping giants. Time got away from me, as it does when everything feels alive, and you don't want to go back to anything man-made. But as the sun dropped low and the sky went indigo, I realized I still hadn't found a place to bed down. That's when I saw it. A turnout just past a faded sign for a scenic overlook. The parking lot was cracked, half swallowed by weeds and empty. Perfect. I eased the Tahoe into the farthest corner, wheels brushing the edge of the tree line. No lights, no cameras, no houses for miles. The SUV's black paint melted into the dark. I covered the windows with my DI curtains, made a quick meal from the cooler, cracked open a soda, and climbed into the back to settle in. Outside, the chirping of crickets and rustle of leaves played like a lullaby. Safe, hidden, alone. Sometime around 10 p.m., I drifted off. And for a while, everything was perfect. But peace never lasts long, does it? A loud thump slammed into the side of my Tahoe like someone had punched the metal with both fists. My eyes snapped open, heart jackhammering. I grabbed a pepper spray and knife, my only defenses, and sat up in the dark, body frozen, ears scanning every crackle of gravel, every movement of air. The blackout curtains that had made me feel safe suddenly became a prison. I couldn't see out. I had no idea what was just inches from me. I waited, holding my breath, not daring to even shift my weight. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Muffled. Human. Then something hit the car again. Then the slamming of a car door. I peeled back one curtain just enough to see taillights fading into the black. A beat-up sedan screeched away. 2 silhouettes inside. Teenagers. Just kids being punks. Outside, I found the culprit. A half-full bag of blast from Taco Bell. Stick. Gross, but harmless. I felt stupid. Relieved. Angry. My mom's warnings echoed in my head and I brushed them off again. Just dumb kids, I muttered. Could have been worse. I got back inside, covered the window, tried to relax, and I did for a while, until the next thing hit my Tahoe, and this time it didn't laugh. I laid there, my heart slowly easing back into rhythm, telling myself I was safe, that the worst had already happened, but I couldn't shake the feeling, like something just outside the car was waiting for me to fall asleep again. Still, exhaustion has a way of winning, especially when your body's been riding adrenaline for hours. I eventually drifted off, wrapped in a fragile sense of calm, until that calm shattered like glass. Around 3:30 a.m. the Tahoe shook, not a light tremor. It rocked, like something heavy had slammed into the frame. My eyes flew open. No laughter this time. No soda splashing against metal. Just raw impact. I sat up fast, ducked low instinctively, gripping the pepper spray like it could actually do something. Her back, I whispered. The same stupid kids, messing with the wrong car. Only this time, something felt off. I was angry, sure. Fired up, ready to throw the door open and tell them exactly what I thought. But just as I reached for the handle, something hit me. The smell. It came in waves. Thick, wet, rank. Like a dog that's been rotting in a swamp. My throat clenched. I nearly gagged. It was that strong. That wrong. The smell of something that didn't belong anywhere near human life. I froze again, every nerve in my body tightening. My breath caught in my throat. Then, the night went quiet. I mean dead quiet. The crickets, gone. The wind, gone. As if the whole forest hit pause. As if the whole forest hit pause. I'd been in the woods hundreds of times before, but I'd never experienced anything like that. It wasn't just quiet, it was unnatural, like even the earth was trying not to be noticed. Then, I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching gravel just outside the car, starting on the far side, pacing. I could feel it move around toward the rear. I didn't dare breathe. I didn't dare think. The stench got worse. Every second it lingered near me, It got thicker, like it was leaking from whatever was out there. I felt the hairs on my arms lift, a cold sweat forming at the base of my neck. My fingers slid slowly off the door handle. I wasn't opening that door. Not now. Not for anything. Then came the breathing. Raspy, wet, like dragging air through a throat that hadn't seen daylight in weeks. It was right behind me now. The thin glass of the Tahoe window was the only thing between me. Something. I couldn't see it, but I knew. It wasn't human, and it wasn't any kind of animal you'd find in Tennessee. I pressed myself against the side of the bed platform, trying to disappear, trying to will myself invisible. Then, tap, tap, tap. A sound on the rear glass, metal on glass, soft but deliberate. I stopped existing in that moment. My blood went cold. My mouth dried out. Just the realization. Something out there had fingers. Something was trying to get in. And here's the part I still struggle to explain. It didn't smash the window. It didn't roar or rip at the frame. It just tested me, tapped, sniffed, waited, as if it wanted me to react, wanted to see what I would do, because it wasn't just there. It was thinking, and I don't care what anyone says. When something out in the dark starts rattling your door handle, breathing heavy through the seams, and you can feel it watching you without even seeing its face, you just know. This thing wasn't out to scare me. It was out to understand me. And somehow that was worse. I didn't move. I couldn't. That tapping noise echoed in my chest like a countdown, like something out of a dream you can wake up from. It wasn't just the sound. It was what it meant. That something out there not only had fingers, but also intention, curiosity, maybe even a plan. And that made it worse than anything I'd imagined. Every second stretched. My skin burned with stillness, like my own body didn't know how to exist in that moment. I sat, pressed against the bed frame, heart hammering so hard I thought it might give me away. Then, just when the stillness became unbearable, the tapping stopped, but the breathing didn't. It circled again, slowly. My ears followed each step. Crunch, pause, crunch. It was calculating, unhurried. When it moved toward the front of the vehicle, toward me, I had to stop myself from bolting forward out of blind panic. Every blackout cover I had so proudly rigged up now felt like a coffin lid. I was sealed in here with no eyes, no sense of distance, no direction. I could feel the pressure of it, like a heat without warmth. Then came the sniffing, deep, exaggerated inhales like it was sampling me, cataloging my scent. I squeezed the pepper spray harder, but my hand was shaking too bad to trust it. I knew one move could send everything spiraling out of control. So I did what prey does. I stayed perfectly still and hoped to God the predator would lose interest. But this predator didn't leave. It growled, low, guttural, drawn out. Not a warning, not a fear response. This wasn't a scared animal. This was dominance. And then, without buildup, without hesitation, it yanked the door handle. I heard it, felt it, the mechanism rattling in its socket. It pulled hard. Again, testing the lock, testing my resolve. I whispered to myself through clenched teeth, "It can't get in." But that was a lie. Because I'd never imagined anything outside trying to get in would know how. And this thing, whatever it was, it knew. I broke. I couldn't wait anymore. I shot forward, diving into the front seat in one motion, ripping off the curtain from the windshield, slamming my palm onto the keys. The Tahoe roared to life. My chest hit the steering wheel as I threw it into drive. I still couldn't see. The front was still covered. My breath was ragged. The smell was overwhelming, but I had no choice. I reached up, ripped the cover free, and there it was, lit up by my headlights like it had stepped out of a nightmare. Tall, hunched, its head low to peer directly at me through the windshield. Its face, God, that face, was like a timber wolf stretched by something unnatural. The fur was patchy, greasy-looking, mottled with bare spots showing leathery gray skin. Its mouth was slightly open, revealing yellow teeth as long as my fingers. His eyes glowed. No exaggeration. Bright blood red under the beam. But what broke me wasn't the face. It was the hands. It had hands. Massive, gnarled, human-shaped, hanging at its sides like it didn't know whether it wanted to grab me or rip the car apart. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I jerked the wheel left and floored it. The tires screamed. The Tahoe bucked forward. And in the rearview mirror, just for a split second, I saw it jump over the car. Not around. Over. It vanished into the tree line in one impossible leap. And still, somehow, that was only the beginning. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My hands clenched the wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to the real world. My foot pressed so hard on the gas pedal I thought I might break it. Gravel kicked behind me, the Tahoe fishtailing for just a second before catching grip. The whole vehicle rattled like it understood the urgency, like it knew we were fleeing something ancient, something not meant to be seen by human eyes. I swung out of the parking lot onto the empty road with the windows still fogged from my breath and fear. The scent of that creature still hanging inside the car like smoke. Then, just as I ripped the curtain from the driver's side window to get a clear view, my heart nearly stopped. It was right there, running next to me, not behind, 2 feet from my window, keeping pace like it was effortless. Slouched forward, arms dragging almost to the ground. Head low, eyes locked on mine. I could see its muscles flex with every stride, its fur rippling like stormy water under the moonlight. Its mouth was slightly open now, and I swear I saw the corners of it lift just barely, as if it were grinning. The Tahoe was flying. 50, 60. My tires hummed against the asphalt. But the thing didn't break stride. It just kept running, slinking along like it was playing with me, watching, studying, measuring my fear like it was feeding off it. Its legs moved in a sick, animal rhythm, too long, too fluid, and it never blinked. That's when I realized something that chills me even now. It could have gotten in, easily. It could have shattered the glass, reached in, ripped me out, but it didn't. It chose not to, and that choice, that's what made it worse. At 70 miles per hour, I finally began to pull ahead. The thing didn't speed up, didn't try to chase. It just slowed, drifted back, and vanished into the tree line with one final look over its shoulder, like it was saying, next time. That's the part that breaks my sleep. It wasn't just some monster in the woods. It wasn't just a wild encounter. That thing made a decision. It let me leave. It wanted me to know it couldn't have ended me, that it didn't, this time, and just like that, it was gone. The night swallowed it whole, and I was alone on that empty Tennessee road, with nothing but my heartbeat, my questions, and the gnawing certainty that I had brushed against something we weren't meant to survive. But that wasn't the end. That was just the start of the questions. I drove until the sun came up. I don't remember half the roads I took. Didn't stop. Didn't eat. Barely blinked. It was like I was running from the memory itself. Like if I kept moving fast enough, I could leave what happened behind in the trees. But that image, those blood-red eyes, and that knowing, twisted face stayed with me. Every time I blinked, it was there, watching, smirking, reminding me that I'd survived by grace, not luck, and maybe not even that. When I finally pulled into my driveway back in Kentucky, I parked the Tahoe and just sat there. Engine off, cabin silent. I couldn't even open the door right away. My hands were stiff from clenching the wheel so tight, and my shoulders were locked from hours of silent, braced terror. Birds, power lines, morning light on rooftops. But I wasn't the same. I knew something now. Something you can't unknow once it gets inside you. I didn't tell my parents. Not a word. My dad asked how the trip went. I said, cut it short. Roads were too rough. My mom just looked at me for a beat too long and said, like part of her already knew. I guess mothers can feel when something's been taken from you. Even if it's not flesh, even if it's just that sliver of safety you used to walk around with. That illusion that nothing's out there in the dark with teeth and thoughts. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I started searching. I typed out everything I could remember. Gray fur, huge frame, human hands, wolf-like head, glowing eyes, unnatural speed. I wasn't expecting much. But then the results started piling in. Threads, forums, encounters. People describing the same thing over and over. Dogman, that's what they call it. Some say it's a cryptid. Others say it's something worse. Ancient, demonic, something between here and somewhere else. And it wasn't just Tennessee. There were stories from Michigan, Texas, even parts of Kentucky. I read for hours, eyes burning, mind racing. The details were never exactly the same, but the bones of it, the size, the behavior, the intelligence, they matched. Too many to ignore, too many to dismiss. But what shook me most was how many stories ended in silence. People gone missing, cars abandoned, campsites left with gear untouched. Something was out there, and people like me had seen it. Only difference was I got away. And yet, every night since, I've wondered if I really did. Because sometimes late at night when everything goes still and the wind cuts just right through the trees behind my house, I swear I catch the scent again. Wet for rot. That sickly musk that clings to memory like it was burned into your skin. And I wonder, did I leave it behind? Or did I bring it with me? There's one question that still haunts me, and I think it always will. One that comes crawling back in the silence between 2 and 4 a.m. When the house creaks and the wind shifts, and every shadow feels like it's watching. What would have happened if I hadn't moved? If I'd hesitated for just a few more seconds in that parking lot? If my fingers had fumbled with the keys, or the engine hadn't turned over fast enough? Or if I'd frozen like prey instead of running, would I still be here? Or would someone have found that Tahoe, empty, doors wide open? No signs of struggle, just the lingering smell of something wrong. That's what makes it worse than any campfire story. The thing I saw wasn't just a wild animal. It wasn't mindless. It wasn't hunting for food. It was testing me, watching me. And in those moments when it rattled the door handle or stared at me through the windshield, it was making choices. Letting me live was one of them. And that chills me more than any set of teeth ever could. Since then, I've gone deeper than I ever meant to. I've read the old legends, the native warnings, the first-hand accounts people bury in anonymous posts because they don't want to sound insane, and a pattern keeps surfacing. This thing, or things like it, always seem to come and go around the same type of person. Lone traveler, isolated place, always out where nature runs deep, and the rules bend just a little. And maybe that's what it feeds on. Not blood, not meat. Maybe it feeds on fear, on knowledge, on making sure you know it's real. I haven't gone camping since that night. Haven't even left the state, to be honest. The Tahoe's still parked in my dad's barn. I thought about selling it once, but I couldn't bring myself to list it. Every time I see it, I remember those 5 seconds when its headlights lit up the impossible. And I wonder, if I do ever drive it again, will it find me? Because deep down, I know it's not done. I wasn't just some lucky escape. I was marked, tested, and maybe even... So if you're listening to this, whether you believe me or not, remember this part. It knew how to open a door. That's not instinct. That's understanding. That's intelligence. And intelligence means purpose. And if it wanted to, it could be standing outside your house right now, watching, waiting. And you'd never know until it taps the glass. And now, here I am, telling this story not for sympathy, not even really for answers, Though God knows I've spent sleepless nights chasing them through every corner of the internet. Every ancient myth, every hidden forum, thread filled with whispers and blurry photos. Desperation. But because someone else out there might be sitting in their car tonight, parked under a blanket of stars, thinking they're alone, I'm here to tell you, you're not. I don't care what the textbooks say. I don't care what science says is possible. Something is out there in the forests, on the ridgelines, in the black gaps between trees that never learn how to forget. And it watches, it waits, it chooses. We call it Dogman. Because we don't have anything better. Because we need to name things to make them feel smaller. But it isn't small. It's fast. It's powerful. It never once made a sound until after I moved. Until after I reacted. Like it was reading me, learning, almost smiling. I don't think it was hungry. I think it was curious. And that's the part no one talks about. The idea that these things might not be hunting. They might be studying. Like a cat that bats at a mouse without killing it, just to see what it'll do. That night changed everything. It didn't just scare me, it rewired something. There's a split in my memory now. Before and after. Before, the woods were mine. After, they belonged to it. So yeah, I canceled the rest of the trip. I went home. I locked the doors. And for a while, I stopped talking about any of it. But silence doesn't protect you. If anything, it makes you easier to pick off. Easier to dismiss, easier to forget. And I won't let this be forgotten. We need to stop pretending these stories are just for entertainment. People are seeing these things. People are disappearing. So maybe the real question isn't what I saw. Maybe it's why it lived. Why did it pull the door handle, sniff the air, press its face to the glass, and just walk away? Was it done? Or was it just waiting for next time? I don't know. And I might never know. But if you've seen something, if you've ever felt that chill deep in your bones, the kind that doesn't go away even in sunlight, I believe you. I see you. And if you've got a story, now's the time to share it before they make you feel crazy. Before the world tries to convince you the thing breathing outside your window was just a dream. You're not crazy. You're just one of the few who's seen what waits in the dark when the world forgets to watch. So stay sharp. Stay loud. And whatever you do, never assume you're alone out there. Sometimes, the most terrifying truths are the ones that hide in plain sight. Not in myths or legends, but in the cracks between what we know and what we can't explain. These stories, these moments that rattle us to our core, aren't always meant to be solved. Some truths are too old, too wild, too deeply stitched into the bones of the world to be caught in the net of science or held under the lens of logic. They belong to the forest, to the night, to the hush just before a scream. And yet, they find their way into our lives, not to destroy us, but to remind us this world is still vast, still mysterious, still full of places where the light doesn't quite reach, places where something watches with ancient eyes and waits, maybe not to harm, maybe not even to act, but simply to be seen. And when you see it, when you feel it, when it chooses you to carry the weight of knowing, it changes everything. Because what we fear most isn't always death. Sometimes it's the realization that the world is far stranger, far more layered than we've been led to believe. That our place in it is fragile. That the safety we wrap around ourselves like armor, doors, locks, phones, cities, is paper thin against the old things, the real things, the things that were here long before we were, and might still be watching just out of reach. But maybe that's not a reason to fear. Maybe it's a reason to listen, to stay humble, to understand that we are not the only ones who walk this earth with purpose and thought, that what we call monsters may simply be mirrors, forcing us to confront our assumptions, our comforts, our place in the food chain. Because the moment we stop believing we can be touched by the unknown is the moment we become most vulnerable to it. So let these stories live on, not to scare, but to awaken. And now, if you've made it this far, thank you for keeping an open mind, for stepping into the unknown with me, even if just for a little while. These stories don't survive unless we share them. Unless we talk about what's uncomfortable, what's unbelievable, what's real in ways we're not ready to admit. If this story moved you, chilled you, or even just made you think a little deeper about the world around us, drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, your theories, or even your own encounters. And if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow for more true stories that walk the edge of our understanding. Because sometimes, it's not about what you see out there. It's about what sees you.